Hi everyone, welcome back to Voices in Our Zone. Sorry, Voices from Our Zone. Hi everyone, welcome back to Voices from Our Zone. I'm Joe Prendiville, Business Development Director at Westminster Zone, and I'm joined today by Jayne. Hi Jayne again. Formerly Head of Early Help in Family Services in Westminster, and now Special Projects Officer in Westminster, and also Regional Advisor to Family Books. So welcome. And Jayne, maybe we can kick off by you just giving us a bit of an overview of what you think of about the early help system in Westminster.
I think the early help system in Westminster is quite well developed. We deliver it through 3 localities, and each locality has a family hub. And the integration of services across that locality and how they can work together is what's really important. And it's about integration, not partnership. I think when people work in a partnership, they still are kind of wedded to their organisational practices. And I think the idea of integration is that people come together with one practice model. And we've still got a long way to go in Westminster, but sort of working with the whole family. And the other bit of integration is understanding the part that each other play, I think, in that offer to families, so that we're not duplicating services. And I suppose with West London Zone, I remember some colleagues feeling, oh gosh, we've got another partner involved in delivering in schools. And the person who said that to me the other day, I asked them how they felt about West London Zone, and they said, I've got so much respect for how they deliver in schools. And they were particularly mentioned during the pandemic, and how you were there on the front line working with children, and how you put the needs of children first, and how you work with them during the holidays too. And I suppose integration is how it is respecting what each other's role is within the school. And actually it's great to have a lot of services in the school, but unless they're coordinated and people understand what each other are doing, then you lose the value of it.
Yeah.
And I think we've achieved that kind of integration and respect for what each other does. And I suppose we all work at a different level in terms of early intervention. And I see what West London Zone do as being something that we can't do, is to kind of early level. And I think there's no doubt that you prevent escalation to higher level services.
So in the blog, we talk about, I suppose, integration and partnership at 2 levels really. The strategic level, organisations meeting, trying to plan, provision, but also at operational level. So practitioners in schools being clear about what each other's doing around, particular cases and teachers and things. Have you got any experience of how West London Zone sort of worked well in Westminster at that sort of operational level in schools?
I mean, I've had experience of services that come into schools and work in a very siloed way. They have no connection then with any other services. And I think that the children they work with don't benefit then from that wider network of services. And I can see that the children that you benefit from, you work with, actually benefit from that wider suite of services. And that's continued for them through holidays and your connections.
So you mentioned earlier, Jayne, about the voluntary sector in Westminster has fed back that they see themselves as kind of equal partners really with the local authority, which is fantastic, and I echo that. What's your view on the sort of on the specific role that the voluntary sector organisations can play within the early help system in Westminster?
I think they've got a different relationship with the community. They've kind of built up kind of trusted relationships often in the communities they work in, and so I don't think you can deliver family hubs without them being an integral part of them really. And they also bring expertise with them. And as you know, we have an integrated leadership team around each of our family hubs, which is made up of statutory and voluntary sector providers. So they sit around the table as equal partners and recognise the expertise that they will bring. And then I think the experience for families is that, you know, you can continue your work as a family and someone else can come in and you work, you know, together you can work with the whole family rather than seeing, you know, each intervention as completely separate.
Yeah.
It needs to be seen as a part of one plan for that family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the relationships that are built and invested in the system really support that kind of working.
Sure. Yeah. With the prominent role that you played in setting up the family hubs, Jayne, and look, you mentioned negotiation and of course bringing organisations together from different perspectives is always going to be tricky. I mean, are there any sort of like learnings that you took from doing that, and how you affected that integration?
I think one of the things that we've found most difficult is finding a digital way, kind of one database way of kind of connecting people.
Yeah.
That's been really difficult. And as you know, we've tried to introduce an e-family hub module where we've got a platform for one family plan, so families don't have a variety of plans. And the voluntary sector and the statutory sector use that. But they also have to record on their own databases. So that's been really challenging.
Yeah.
So what about yourself and your challenges? Because you've obviously worked with quite a number of local authorities now.
Yeah, and I think every context is different, every local authority is different, the nature of the systems are even different. And I think sometimes when I've thought about it, I've felt that we could have, you mentioned about the examples earlier on of, where families come to you and you've heard that they've experienced, a much better joining system. I think that when we could have captured those case studies or examples from one local authority where we've worked in a particularly integrated way and used that to help with the sort of integration, if you like, or showcasing of how we could work with other local authorities. I think sometimes, when you talk at sort of strategic levels about your delivery models and things like that, sometimes for practitioners it's not always crystal clear, like what are the actual real life examples really. So we're trying to capture, a few more of them now because they absolutely exist. And look, hearing some of your perspectives today is, it's been fantastic.
Partnerships are about always going the extra mile, aren't they, for each other, like always going beyond your kind of traditional boundaries.
Yeah.
So you sit on the board, for instance, and I've come here today. And that's what builds that relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what we see in this step from this system.
Yeah. Okay, Jayne, that was fascinating. Thanks so much for your insight and your time down there today. And look forward to seeing you again soon.